Why does fear feel louder than faith lately? For God gave us not a spirit of fear. This verse is often quoted as correction, but it was written to someone exhausted. Timothy was not rebellious. He was not weak. He was overwhelmed. Responsibility pressed on him. Opposition surrounded him. Expectation weighed heavily, and Paul does not shame him. He reminds him of origin. God did not give you this. Notice what Paul does not say. He does not say, "You are not afraid." He says, "Fear is not your source." That distinction matters because fear feels internal. It feels like personality, like temperament, like identity. When fear stays long enough, you begin to think it is who you are. But Paul separates experience from identity. Fear may visit, fear may speak, fear may linger, but it is not your inheritance. For God gave us. Origin determines authority. If fear is not from God, then fear does not get final say. That does not mean fear disappears. It means fear is not sovereign. And many people today need that separation because fear has become constant background noise, not panic, not crisis. Low-grade vigilance, the kind that keeps your shoulders slightly raised, keeps your thoughts slightly racing, keeps your body slightly braced. You are not falling apart. You are just always ready. Ready for what might go wrong. Ready for what might be lost. Ready for what might collapse. Paul does not dismiss that feeling. He reframes it, but of power and love and self-control. Not adrenaline power, not domination power, stability power, the kind that does not shout, the kind that does not need to prove itself. Love that does not harden under pressure. Self-control that does not collapse into impulsive reaction. Fear compresses your world. Power expands it. Fear isolates. Love connects. Fear accelerates. Self-control steadies. Paul is not offering personality advice. He is describing what remains under fear. Because fear often covers what is still intact. You may feel anxious, but you are not powerless. You may feel tense, but you are not loveless. You may feel uncertain, but you are not without self-control. Fear narrows perception. It convinces you that the loudest voice is the truest. Paul disrupts that illusion. He reminds Timothy and you that fear is not foundational. It is atmospheric. Atmosphere changes. Foundation remains. If you are listening and feel like fear has shaped your decisions lately, your posture, your expectations, you are not defective. You are under pressure. Pressure reveals what you lean on. And Paul insists you are leaning on something deeper than fear. This is not motivational language. It is grounding language. Grounding means you stop arguing with fear and start placing it in context. Fear does not define your capacity. It does not determine your future. It does not own your obedience. It may speak loudly, but it does not author you. You were not built from it. That realization does not remove anxiety overnight. It changes how you respond to it. You stop believing every fearful thought. You stop acting on every anxious impulse. You stop assuming that urgency equals wisdom. Fear says, react. Power says, pause. Fear says, protect. Love says, stay open. Fear says, move now. Self-control says, breathe. This is not self-help. It is identity correction. You are not constructed from fear. You are not animated by panic. You are not sustained by adrenaline. Those may visit, they do not own you. And if tonight fear feels louder than faith, that does not mean faith is gone. It means fear is speaking over it. Paul is not telling Timothy to feel braver. He is reminding him what he carries. Power, love, self-control, all quieter than fear, all steadier. And that steadiness is still present, even if it does not shout. Fear feels convincing because it is immediate. It speaks first. It raises its hand before thought has time to form. It tightens the body before logic can respond. But immediacy does not equal authority. Paul does not deny fear's volume. He denies its ownership. For God gave us, that phrase returns us to origin again. Origin determines inheritance. If fear is not given by God, then it does not get to define who you are becoming. This matters more than it sounds. Because when fear lingers, It begins to narrate identity. You stop saying, I feel anxious. You start saying, I am anxious. You stop describing a state. You declare a self. Paul interrupts that slide. He reminds Timothy that what was given to him is different. Power, love, self-control, these are not personality upgrades. They are spiritual realities that coexist with fear. You can feel afraid and still possess power. You can feel uncertain and still move in love. You can feel pressured and still act with restraint. Fear narrows vision. It convinces you that what you feel is what you must obey. But power does not shout, it steadies. Power in this verse is not dominance, it is capacity. The capacity to remain yourself under pressure. The capacity to respond instead of react. The capacity to endure without collapsing inward. Love, here, is not softness. It is orientation toward others even when fear suggests withdrawal. Fear isolates. Love refuses isolation, even if your voice trembles, even if your confidence thins, even if your future feels uncertain. Self-control is the quietest of the three. It is not suppression, it is alignment. Alignment between what you feel and what you choose. Fear says, act now. Self-control says, wait. Fear says, close. Love says, stay open. Fear says, protect yourself first. Power says, you are not as fragile as you think. This is not denial of anxiety. It is refusal to let anxiety dictate the whole story. If fear has felt louder lately, in the news, in your thoughts, in your body, that does not mean you are spiritually regressing. It means you are human in a world that amplifies uncertainty. Paul wrote to Timothy in a time of persecution, instability, opposition. He did not say, there is nothing to fear. He said, fear is not your source. There is a difference. You may feel fear in your nervous system, but you are not powered by it. You may wake up tense, but tension is not your foundation. Your foundation is something quieter. God did not create you to live in constant bracing. He created you with capacity. Capacity to breathe before deciding. Capacity to pause before reacting. Capacity to choose integrity even when urgency screams. Fear is often faster than faith, but speed is not proof of truth. Faith is slower, but it is steadier. It does not erupt. It endures. And endurance in this season is not dramatic. It is daily. You wake up, you feel the pressure. You choose not to let it own you. You feel the anxiety. You do not pretend it is gone, but you do not let it define the next step. That is power. Not loud power, but lived power. You stay open instead of retreating. You stay gentle instead of hardening. You stay thoughtful instead of impulsive. That is love and self-control under stress. You may not feel brave, but bravery is not the absence of fear. It is movement that is not ruled by fear. And movement here may be small. A conversation you did not avoid. A decision you did not rush. A boundary you held calmly instead of explosively. These do not look heroic, but they are evidence that fear does not own you. Paul's reminder is not about becoming fearless. It is about remembering what remains intact under fear. You are not constructed from panic. You are not sustained by adrenaline. You are not defined by worst-case thinking. Those things may visit. They are not your inheritance. If tonight fear feels louder than faith, that does not mean faith has disappeared. It may simply be quieter. Faith is not volume. It is direction. It points you back to origin. God gave you something steadier than fear. Even if you do not feel it intensely, even if you are tired, even if uncertainty remains, you are not built from panic. You are built from purpose. And purpose does not dissolve when clarity delays. You may still feel afraid tomorrow. That does not undo this truth. Fear may speak again. It may tighten your chest again. It may suggest retreat again, but you are not obligated to obey it. You can pause, you can breathe, you can choose. Power, love, self-control, they are not dramatic, they are durable. And durability is what sustains you when seasons stretch longer than expected. You do not need to eliminate fear to remain faithful. You only need to remember it is not your source. And if that is all you can hold tonight, that fear is not foundational, that is enough. You are not owned by what feels loudest. You are steadier than you think. And even in this, you are not alone. Amen.